European Leadership Network, or ELNET, is an association which aims to bring Europe and Israel closer together, organising talks on a range of subjects to promote their shared democratic principles. As a member of ELNET, Israel's ex-Deputy Prime Minister Dan Meridor has come to Spain to talk on the subject of national security. Mr. Meridor was invited to Madrid's Centre for National Defence Studies as part of a series entitled The Culture of Defence in Spain and Israel. He sat down with JN1 to go over the key points of the discussion. Last night you talked about Syria and the threats from the international community against them using chemical warfare. In the end, the threats came to nothing. How much do you think that this was brought about by the unpopularity of the Iraq war? And what can we do to make sure politicians take decisions that might prove to be unpopular?
Assuming you're right, that there is reluctance to go to war because people saw the cost of war and the limits of what war can achieve for you after Iraq, after Afghanistan. If that is the case, one should not threaten to go to war. Because if you threaten and then you don't make good on your promise, you lose credibility and you lose reliability. Second, yes, I think there is an understanding, growing understanding, after there was a very significant use of force by the organized world, America, Britain, others, in Iraq and in Afghanistan, that maybe war, that maybe force is sometimes very necessary, but there are limits to what force can achieve. So nobody, even if it is a very strong country, is omnipotent. There are things you cannot do. So the first thing that happens in war, everybody is admiring your capabilities, your technology, the way you handle it, and shock and awe was the term. But later, what people see is the limits of your force and what the war could not achieve.
With Southern Europe suffering most from the financial crisis, voices here in Spain are calling for a reduction in the defence budget. I asked the former Minister of Intelligence and Atomic Energy if there was any room for cuts in European defence systems.
It would be a mistake to build the old system that had good responses to the old threats. I don't see tanks, Russian tanks, running Europe over, and you need to put somebody or some tanks or some nuclear mines against the Russian tanks. It's not the danger, it's not the enemy, it's something else. So what one needs to spend money on is new technologies, new training, new methodology, new thinking of how to cope with the new problems. Not that I have a simple solution, but a big mistake would be to do what we know best because we practiced a lot and we have many years of experience. The experience may be damaging you. It's sort of a mortgage on my back. I need to think anew, and with the limited sources that one has, and it's limited always, we need to spend it on the right things that will give you the capability to cope with the new threats. This is the main thing. And saying that I don't have money, whatever money you have, don't forget, nothing is guaranteed. Even your freedom is not guaranteed.
Dan Meridor has been involved in Israeli politics since the early 80s, before leaving government towards the start of 2013. I asked what changes he had seen during his time in politics, and which were the biggest challenges facing defence policymakers today.
In the old days, countries fought countries, kings fought kings, and big armies fought big armies. The idea that a group of people fights a country is strange. The first time it appeared was before you were born. There was an organization fighting a country called Spectra. It was in the James Bond movies. You saw something strange. Great Britain is attacked by an organization. Some guy, bold guy, caressing a cat called Bluefelder thing. Okay, so this was science fiction. It was great, but it's lovely movies, and Sean Connery was doing that. Now, the new organization called Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Jihad, all sorts of names, and Sean Connery grew too old to handle it. So you need other things. Having more tanks or more submarines or even more nuclear bombs on America or Britain may not do the job because it's a different kind of war. So you look for new methods to defend yourselves against new threats. First of all, because you have possibly potentially many enemies that are not states, non-state actors, like the ones that we saw on 9/11 or on the attack in London or in Madrid. It's people are much more powerful to do good things and bad things, including terror.
Mr. Meridor argues that on the subject of national security, the combatants, the battlefield and public opinion is constantly evolving. But whatever the answer may be to those changes, Dan Meridor's talk here in Spain means that ELNET has achieved its objective of helping to share vital experience between Europe and Israel. This is Paul Walsh for JM1 in Spain.